What's up, y'all? Jax here with North Caesar, and I've got a very, very special guest on with me today. Someone I've known for years, actually, the legendary Bill Butts. Bill, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself? Say hi to our audience.
How y'all doing out there today? I'm Bill Butts. I'm a voice actor, on-camera actor, model, and I guess when I met you, it'd be a little bit of little MC work, right?
That's right. Oh God, I remember that. So for those who don't know, of course, why would you? So Bill and I go probably not even a couple of years back, several years back.
Yeah.
We met while during the Nobuo Uematsu Dancing Dad tour, correct?
Yes. Yep. Oh man, that was absolutely amazing. Getting to be the MC for Nobuo Uematsu was one of life. Especially in the fact that when they hit me up, they're like, all right, it's going to be Nobuo Uematsu. Oh, that's cool. Oh, by the way, it's actually him and his friends are doing metal versions of all their songs. Oh, and one of them kind of created Mario RPG. I'm like,
Oh my God. So that is actually how me and Bill met. Also,
yeah.
we are both somewhat from Kansas City. I say somewhat because my father's family is from there, but you yourself are a true KC native. So
Oh, absolutely.
like, just to kick things off, what
Yeah.
was it like growing up, being a Black nerd in Kansas City? Like, what was it like for you coming up?
I would change nothing in my past because I'm gonna be absolutely 100% with you. I actually grew up and went to school in Olathe, Kansas, where there was like 1,000 kids, and I'm one of like 6 Black people. Period. That includes like maybe one like custodian. So I'd be there, and like you would get everything from like we're talking about slavery today. Everyone kind of turns around. So sorry. I'm like, can
Oh
I touch your
no.
hair? Oh man, what is it like to be a rapper? Why don't you talk like those rappers? I'm like, well, John, it's because I'm in the same language arts class. But I mean, we've known each other for about 10 years now. I think you'd understand. But it's funny because out of like the small amount of us, we'd always talk about like Dragon Ball and things like that. And it was really funny because a lot of like the folks would sit there and like talk trash until like one day I'll never forget it. I was in the gym in school, and like all like the big jocks are like walking around, and like we're sitting there lifting and like making some jokes about Dragon Ball Z. And remember this guy goes like, "Oh, well, you like Dragon Ball?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, I like Dragon Ball Z. Get out of here!" And that being like a blurred, like you're supposed to be like all about hip hop, dance, rap, and like what people perceive you to be as, and then you like the nerdy shit, which is like Dragon Ball, Cowboy Bebop,
Yeah.
Yu Hakusho. And every dude there was mad to say, yes, we watched Sailor Moon. Tuxedo Mask is why I wear suits today. Thank you very much. And it would being a blurred actually like bridge the gap between like everyone from like the kids who were nerdy kids down to the jocks.
All right. Well, in that case, that actually brings me to my next question is,
Yeah.
okay, well, first of all, when did you know that you were first about that nerd life? Like, what was your first, let's say, gateway into whether it was anime, video games, whatever it was?
Oh man, I'll give you every answer. I'll say like as a kid, I saw like Dragon Ball on TV. I'm like, this is pretty cool, and I watched a little bit, and it was pretty dope. But that wasn't what sealed the deal. The Sci-Fi Channel had this thing called Saturday Anime, and it would be like these absolutely, I'm talking like we would make 4 kids proud amounts of just absurd editing to like the dopest animes. And the first one I watched was Akira. Dragon Ball for like Goku. Oh no, where is your edit that for 4 kids? To all of a sudden Akira, which is like existential crisis, psychic powers, post World War III. I'm like, my little mind is like
Just blown,
Yeah.
right?
I'm like, this is some dark stuff. Next, we had a new anime on there. Oh, here's Fatal Fury Special. They're beating the crap out of each other. This is amazing. And it just kept building and building from there. So I would say Akira on Sci-Fi Channel Saturday Anime just set it in stone. Beautiful.
Now, you're also something of a gamer as well, right?
Oh, absolutely.
All right. What was your
Absolutely.
first video game? Gotta ask.
My first video game was introduced to me by my Aunt Bonnie. She brought over like a Nintendo, that her and my cousins had, and my cousins are Jay and Bree. They're beautiful people. Jay's out there killing the field, and Bree as well, and they're amazing people. But almost gotta have a family. You gotta love your family. Anyway, back to your actual question. She brought it over, and the first game we played was oh my goodness, it was Duck Hunt, whatnot, and I was like, this is actually pretty dope. But then I played this game called like Bayou Billy and all this stuff. I'm like, this is pretty cool. And I played Paperboy. And for some reason, Paperboy was like the dopest thing on the planet because I'm like, I'm gonna ride bikes, get at the walls. This is amazing. And then the Sega came out.
Oh boy.
Oh Lord, I was game over. Sonic 2 done changed my life.
Yes.
It
Sega
was
was
so
my first
beautiful.
console. Yes.
Oh man, because like I went from like on purpose being player 2 because that Luigi looked cooler than Mario, to like Sonic. I'm like, yeah, you can play as Tails. It's dope. You're right. I had a sister named Chanel, by the way. She was my player 2. But oh man, that changed everything down to the point where like I would try to like do the dumb shit I'd see in like the animes, even like the Sonic OVA and things like that. Like, how can I get him to be that cool? To the point of even competition, to my first job being at GameStop.
Same. My first job was also at GameStop. Okay.
Yes. So did that, and I came to the point where like the game came out. Soul Calibur 2 was coming out, and let's face it, you worked at GameStop. You were making money. I'll tell you that much.
No, you are not. just for our listeners and our viewers, you do not make money working at GameStop.
Nope. But you're there because you loved it.
Yes, so, exactly.
I would. Had I been told I still worked there, I'd be getting fired for saying this, but it's just fun to say. I can say this now that I don't work there, and it's been like over 12, 15 years. When I'd have the regulars come in, I bet you one Wendy's burger, I will beat your ass at Soul Calibur. And they would show up. Literally didn't lose for like a year. Yeah, to the point where there's a video somewhere online. It was you might have met him. I had an old roommate in KC's, and it was Jeff Voss. He actually does a lot of work with like Nakakon.
I don't think if I've met him, like it has been so long that I do not remember him. Sorry, Jeff, if you're watching.
If Jeff's watching, and those who want to know who Jeff looks like he could be like the cousin of Gimli on Lord of the Rings. He's a short, stout man with a big bushy beard. But his roommate at the time recorded me, and I actually would plug in like the wrong controllers into games. And when I say that, it means like I put a Guitar Hero controller in there. I put a DDR pad in there. And I can tell you, I've actually beaten Soul Calibur 3 with a DDR pad.
Bull! I don't believe you.
Yeah. Video is on my Instagram right now. You can.
All right, I'm gonna have to watch that. I'm going to have to watch that just so I can be mad that I've never accomplished something like as cool. God.
Oh, I tell you, I regret nothing. I will say it's absolutely impossible to play Metal Gear Solid with the DDR pad. Yes, I'm an idiot. Anyway, next question. Oh, Lord have mercy.
All right, then. Well, then moving on. Okay, so that leads me to the next question. Mm-hmm. When did you first get a taste for acting and show business, and how was that eventually able to coincide with your love of being a nerd?
Oh, my goodness. This is a story I love to tell, and it goes full circle to the point where I'll say the end of the story, I literally cried because of how this all worked out.
Okay.
Early in my little career, actually a little after the GameStop times, where I got talked into going to anime conventions. Mm-hmm. And it was around the same time I finally started picking up the MC work. I remember being at Anime NebraskaCon, and the idea of voice acting was there. The point where I'm taking like some theater courses and trying to like figure myself out, because there's a thing about voice acting. The second part of that is acting. I'll tell you something. I will never forget being there, and we were doing like a little riff of City Cop. And it's a Jackie Chan-ish film. So I got to make it for the whole genre. He literally dresses up as Chun-Li. It's amazing. And when we're riffing it, Keith Silverstein actually hops in and crashes the panel to make fun of it with us. And I'm sitting there, and you realize that there's like, back then especially, Keith and Bo might have been the only POC actors I'd ever even heard of in the business. You don't. You go to as many cons as you want to. You don't see Black actors.
No, you don't. You do not at all. None. No.
So, Keith, this dude is Zasalamel in Soul Calibur, which is a game of tomorrow. I'm like, oh my God, it's Keith Silverstein. He's here. Oh my God. So we talk, and I sit there and talk to him after the panel. I was like, Keith, so what do I got to do to get into voice acting? Just be real with me. He looks me right in the eye and says, Bill, you need to take as many classes as you can, get you a good agent. Don't turn down the work until you are that established, and you need to work 10 times harder as the next person. I said, okay. Little did Keith know, I did that. I studied contemporary. I studied Shakespeare. I went to school, started taking Japanese for my language and my language choice. I started studying as much as radio as possible. I booked for Lee Jeans, booked for the KC Royals baseball team, do commercials for them. And it just kept building. So I'm pushing myself to this. So eventually, gosh, I'm like a decade later, I got involved with things we talk about here in a minute, with like SAG and CODA and things like that, and like the push for quality in the whole business. And we were doing a meeting, whatnot, to kind of push for this. And it's like every one of like your VO heroes is all here, and I'm just giving a speech about all this. And Keith Silverstein walks up to me. He says, "Hey, Bill, I was going to say, whatever you can do, I can do, man. I would love to help out and push this, because it's about time to really have some real changes around here." I'm like, oh wow. Hey, man. I tell him about like what we're doing, everything like that. They get involved, and I end it by saying, "Hey, listen, it's gonna sound a little weird, but like around like a decade ago, I was talking to you." He goes, "At Atlanta, Nebraska, I crashed a panel." I sat there. He goes like, he looks at me and he's like, "I've actually been following your career since then, man." I'm talking like the whole get back in there tier. It was like the, oh my God, I'm your biggest fan. I can't do all these impersonations. I talked to him and was like, hey, what do I need to do? I followed through with his inspiration. I saw him every distance, and to see him looking back at me and liking what he's seeing, actually saying like, hey, you know, you did good. Mm-hmm. That is everything. Everything. I sat there, I'm like, damn, Keith is the man, the absolute man right there. And that is 1,000% the answer of how I get into it.
That is, comes to, I'm acting. So sorry. Like, that's mind blowing. Yeah. Like, to know that this person who inspired you so much has been following your work. Yeah. Now, that brings up one other person who I actually talked to, and I had no idea that we knew you. John Eric Bentley.
I love John Bentley.
I lost my mind when we found out that like we had like that 10 degrees or 2 degrees of separation or whatever it was. I'm like, you know Bill, for real? That's crazy. So like during one of our interviews, we talked like a good chunk of it, I believe, was about you. And he had like nothing but amazing things to say to you. So, and it's thanks to John that I'm finally in school to do some voice acting. So that's dope. So I am really excited to hear that, you know, one of your idols was able to, you know, impact your life in such a way, and now they're following your work. And have you had the opportunity to work with him? And if you could work with Keith, what would you want to work with him on? Oh man, with Keith on. Oh, okay. First off, let's just talk about let's talk about John. John, oh man, meeting John was one of the dopest things, because it was a complete bit of like a strange happenstance. Mm-hmm. Because Tuesdays on my Twitch, I would always bring in people just to interview and just kind of talk about life or game, and talk about life and like the business, whatnot, as well as like, you know, see things happening nowadays. And this guy on there, his name was Christian Ocampos. He's actually in the screen handles like the Ohio guys. Mm-hmm. Really, really cool dude. He always tried to interview me on stuff. I'm on interviews. I'm like, all right, we'll let this go a little bit. So he kept being like, Bill, do you know John Bentley? I'm like, I don't really know John Bentley, but I keep hearing nothing but the coolest things about him. He's like, oh man, you guys gotta meet. You guys gotta meet. Oh man, he's like you, but like older and bigger. I'm like, all right, well, you see my long lost father? Oh my God. So one day, like, John just DMs me out of nowhere on Twitter, and like it was one thing I had to look at like twice, because this is like, it's a fake account. There's no way that this loop master dubbing genius, literal the new Barrett, also respect to Bo Billingsley, the OG Barrett. Yes. Love that dude. Also, his wife makes amazing cooking. Go on that later. But I love Bo to death. But like, messages me out of the blue. I'm like,
nah, that's him. Okay. What's good? We started catching up. We talk on the phone and whatnot, and eventually I get like lunch with this dude. And I'll tell you this much. Talking with John Bentley is like talking to like this long lost uncle.
Isn't it?
Yeah, he's the nicest dude. He's super professional. He's super encouraging and whatnot. And he can just talk about the dumbest things. Like what could have been maybe like 15 minutes turned to like a couple hours of just like back and forth. Because like there's some things like because he's a blurred too. So for instance, like you can't talk about the hood or crazy grandpas or cookouts with a lot of folks, especially if you can meet them and talk about the business.
Yeah.
It's like you get it. You understand. It's beautiful. So to the point where like, oh man, John, he's just if I was watching this, John Bentley is Barrett. And I say that in the almost literal sense. He's the big, strong dude who's gonna just have all the soul in the world. He's about his work, but at the same time, he's really about family.
Yeah.
Too. Like I love seeing folks you talk to just brag about like their wife and their kids.
Same. I love that.
Right? Especially like people like, oh, black dad. Oh, let me guess. Is he going to the cigarette store? I'm like, shut up.
Shut up.
Yeah.
That is far from funny. I'm so sorry.
Right?
Like,
it's terrible. It's
Yeah.
absolutely terrible. So I'm clearing one thing out right now. That is the furthest truth ever. I don't think I really know. I'm saying this on high authority, being a black man, that a lot of people I grew up with, the families were pretty complete. And if not, there was a father figure in the mix anyway. So I'm just saying that stereotype is some big bullshit. So
Yeah.
can I say that?
Yeah.
Can I say on track? Oh, I just did. My bad. But real talk, John is about that life, man. He really is. And I don't know because I brought up earlier. Props to Bo. I would love to see Bo and John in the same room because it would be like two grandpas just having a ball right there. I can talk for Bo for a minute. Bo's been around here. It's like he's 75 years old and was on the original A-Team.
Oh my God.
Yeah, he had a bit part in the original A-Team. And god damn, like he loves his wife, he loves his family, whatnot. He does something forever. And Bo's done everything. Everything. The guy is literally he's got a background of being a lawyer. Yeah. Played football professionally, theater, on camera, the work. If you think it, Bo has done it. It's absurd, man. So I love dumb people. And
I'm watching you do it, and I'm just like, it's so adorable. I like watching because you just light up when you talk about this. So it's amazing. Please keep noting.
It's so cool. It's so cool, man. And so that's when they hit me some real talk. I'll give you a little bonus here. I moved out here. It was a complete 1 in a million shot. I was given a chance to audition for Mobile Suit Gundam. Yeah, that's cool. I love that series. What's it called? It's called Gundam Thunderbolt. It's going to be a mix of like Cowboy Bebop and Gundam. It's going to be like a kind of side story kind of happening like what happened like right after the original series. I'm like, that is the coolest I've ever heard of in my damn life. I would love to read for it. I don't care if I'm guy number 2 getting shot. So I auditioned for it. And this is big burly character. And like for me, it was more so, my background was more so on camera and theater. So I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to be me, whatever. So I read for it all, and I got an email back that simply said, you've been booked. I'm like, who am I booked for? That'd be amazing, but thank you and amazing, and oh my God, yes. I walk into the studio, and I see this dude with a big old afro. I'm like, I didn't read for that guy, but you know what? I'm happy to be that dude. Had maybe like 10 times the lines that the guy didn't get. But the guy didn't get had a really cool fight scene. My guy had cool fight scenes. You know, our dude had like fight to the death underwater. So he had that dude, and like but finally it was like he was going through. We finished my character throughout like it's like a big OVA. And when you finish your character, here's a hint: when the director says, "Hey, if you have more time, do you want to read from auxiliary characters?" You say yes. So next time we got to here, we can be this old person getting shot. All right, this is this little kid, lost his balloon. He's got like one little react. Can you knock it in there? Help us out. So you say yes. So I did that, and I was playing the soldier who died next to the person I didn't get the part for, who had that big epic fight, and it's Bo. So my first thoughts on my first session moved to LA was like, I lost a bow. Oh my God, I lost a bow. Oh my God, I have to compete against Bo Billingsley. I have to compete against all of my heroes. Bring it on.
Yes.
So, so that was reality right there. And that eventually did lead on to meeting Bo, and he was at my Super Bowl party. I love that dude to death. That was because you didn't even ask, but I was like, do it on people.
No,
Anyway.
please, like talk as freely as you want. This is more or less about your bodybuilding. So what led you to become a bodybuilding / fitness influencer, and how did this coincide with your acting? Because that's something else me and John were talking about, is you're in stupid great shape. Like you really are. So how does that kind of coincide?
Right now we're still keeping at it. I'm a story, but it's 100% real. You can
Please
find my dad, WM Butts, on Facebook. He can tell you the same thing. I'm stretching my nose. I'm nervous to tell the story, but it's just because it's really stupid. So I was 12 years old, and PlayStation was like the hotness right there. So I wanted a PlayStation. But, being 12, you don't understand a thing called bills and stuff like that. So I wanted like a PlayStation and all these games. And all these games, like all of them. It was actually maybe like 6 games on there I really wanted. And I will never forget this. I get up on Christmas morning when I was 12 years old, and I go up to the Christmas tree, and I see all these presents everywhere. My sister sees these presents everywhere. I love my sister to death, by the way. And she opens hers up, and it's just like a keyboard and all this cool stuff, because she's a musical genius, going to donate her too. And and I see mine, this big old box. My dad hands it to me, right? And then I'm going to clarify this with my dad as the story goes on, because the groundwork here is totally explaining him as to why he did this. And inside is a Sony PlayStation. So I see this bigger box, right? I'm on cloud 39. I'm on Rigel 6. Just happiness. When I tear that box apart like I'm in Mortal Kombat, and I see inside it is every game I wanted from Blockbuster. So so I'm looking at it, and I'm just like, what? And my dad, who at the time was a lieutenant commander of the U.S. Navy, tells me, oh yeah, well, go downstairs. Your real present's right down there. I'm like, okay. So I go downstairs, and this thing is so big. It's not wrapped. It's just covered in blankets. I take the blanket off, and it is a bench press with a built-in squat rack, leg extensions, and flies on this thing here. My dad says, when you return those back in a few days to Blockbuster, that's what you're going to be doing.
What?
Yeah. So, yeah, so there I was with a bench press, and all the games I wanted had to be brought back. And like, well, I need something to do. So I started working out. And I regret nothing, because the story goes full circle.
Mm-hmm.
I know I told you I met the bigger dudes at the gym. Mm-hmm. Listen, Bill went from Steve Urkel to Stefan. I'll see that right there. If you remember from childhood to puberty. So so I'm 12. I'm like bored, so I'm working out, and I always thought of myself as like the little skinny kid. Mm-hmm. So I didn't realize how strong I was. So getting into high school, I realized, I'm now like 13 years old, and I might be one of the strongest kids in my grade. I never forget, there was Taylor Bauer and Tyler Bubenik. They're in my orchestra class, where I played the violin, and they played cello and the bass, and they were the big instruments, and they were the bigger dudes. Mm. I realized, like, oh, I'm as strong as they are. So you would think yourself as like the little guy, and it was like, no, you're not, baby. No, you made it. So it actually helped bridge the gap in like the entire community of my high school to that point where by the time I left my high school, of course I'm 17 years old, I was actually pound for pound ever to go to that high school, which was the Late East High School right there. It's in 1,000-pound club and everything. So yeah, your boy was a JoJo way back when.
What was your first professional role?
My first professional voiceover role threw me off, because I was with an agency in Kansas City, and I done a lot of work with them for on cameras and commercials and things like that. And you develop a good relationship with your agent. Mm-hmm. So as a joke, I'm like, hey, you know what's really dumb? They had my commercial demo, so I sent them an impersonation, which could be funny. By the way, you don't do that unless you're joking. If they want the impersonation, they'll just hire the original actor. So, paraphrasing, I did this as a joke. They laughed, I laughed, and they submitted it to a place called Visit KC. So they said, by the way, Bill, we didn't realize he was in the office at the time, and you've now been booked to do some commercials for the Kansas City Royals baseball team because of your Morpheus impersonation. So I walk into the studio, and I've been my entire modeling and VO career was just been shooting my shot. So I'm throwing it out there for you guys here, which I can talk about for a minute. I walked in, I'm like, this is amazing. And the guy's like, oh man, we heard your Yoda. That was hilarious. But you kept us the whole time. We heard your Morpheus. Now you're it. You're absolutely it. So I'm like, all right, here we go. Thank you for seeing the KC Royals baseball team. And like, they were all about it. I'm like, this is amazing. Yes. Which led on to things like Gatorade and just anything using this voice right here. So that led on to that. Or I'll give you a bonus funny story. My first modeling gig, it's because I was, in like early 20s and I would not grow up as a model and I had no idea what I was doing. I got put in for a thing called a pants fitting. And I don't know what that means at all at the time. And I'm just supposed to model pants. And this is the audition. You put on these pants, and you strike these poses. And if they like you, they will book you. I'm like, okay, I like money. So I showed up to this thing. And I see these people who, to properly say this, would do very well today on Instagram. So I am a potato. I don't know what I'm doing. So I'm like, okay, so I see that's what they're doing. So I got to do that with my booty cheeks. Okay, I'll figure it out. So I do that, and like a week passes, and my agent hits me up and goes, you were selected. I'm like, for what? Oh, you're now the pants model for the next year for Lee Jeans. I'm like, so we all don't know, Lee Jeans is actually also in Kansas. So I booked that, and it was literally an entire day of wearing dozens upon dozens upon dozens of pants. And your boy was feeling himself after a while there.
All right, now we are actually going to get into your most recent role, which is, please tell me if I'm pronouncing this right, because I looked at the character name and thought it was Siak Chocolata something.
Chocolata.
Chocolata, okay.
Chocolata.
I got that. Yeah, Chocolata.
With my pet Secco.
Get that one second. You did One Punch Man, correct? Now tell us more about how you got the role for One Punch Man. Like the character, I don't even know.
Oh, man.
But how did you get the role for One Punch Man? And how did that feel?
One Punch Man, I actually cried when I got the email for that. I'm not going to be ashamed about that because I would literally shave my head. I actually did it at NakaCon, where I would do an entire fitness training events throughout like the C class to S class, all of the ways where you could compete in that, and you would donate, which you could. Mm-hmm. And when you put in your donation, 100% of it would go to hurricane relief in Japan. Mm-hmm. So I would shave my head, put on the Opie little hoodie, and we would all just go. Be from like average Joes to like literal Marines would show up to this. And it was incredible. So after doing that for a little while before moving out to LA to give anime a shot, mm-hmm. I literally get an email, and it was actually hidden from Viz, where they liked my stuff and said, hey, just so you know, congratulations, you are now the voice of Bakuzan in One Punch Man. So they'd heard me before and said, you're it. So the funny thing about that, and I can talk about this here for a minute, is being a POC in the anime world. Mm-hmm. Video games totally different, but anime world, it's hard because you can be as amazing as possible, but like shows like that, you don't even need to read for unless your character is black.
Wow.
Yeah, that's some real truth. That's some real truth, and that's several studios because of a bit of ignorance there. But things are changing. So I'm saying there's gonna be some good things here. So I didn't get a chance at this at all. Mm-hmm. So I got the email, and I walked into the studio, and I saw a black man from Viz who said, hey, I heard your stuff. you are this character. It's really good to meet you, Bill. And it blew my mind. It was like the stars aligned is the impossibility of actually getting there. So I'm in the booth with that, and they knew I could do deep, guttural, like demonic voice just from my demo alone.
Mm-hmm.
So, right, I went there. He's like Bakuzan is just like, you know, the big old butch guy, and he's supposed to be like, think like Hercule, but like cool. And he actually fights and loses to Saitama in a tournament where Saitama is just God. He gets the chance in the middle of the tournament. It's like, hey, if you eat one of these hearts, you could become a monster. So he eats like 7 of them. It makes him like the size of a building. So
they wanted something really dark and demonic.
So I look at the screen and I see the character and like you're understanding him more. And his first line was, "Where the hell do you think you're going? Your opponent's right here." That is when he became a monster. So because knowing him, he's such a trash talker, I decided to change it last second. So I mixed the Hulk with like Macho Man Randy Savage. The director, his name was Christian Lamont, really good dude. And these were like, "I love it. Yes." Dude leaves, gives me a hug. It's just like, "Thank you. That is the voice."
So from right here,
became something horrible right here. Before you die, you'll experience a hell worse than you can imagine. So that became that right there. And that was my little trip into One Punch Man. And that was one of the most bits of fun I think I've had recording in a very, very, very long time. It was beautiful.
We can get to Chocolata. Please forgive me for butchering this.
You're fine.
Now we can get to your role on JoJo's. Now, how did that happen? Like, okay, well, first of all, are you a big fan of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure?
I am an absurdly huge fan of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Okay.
To the point where I was, how to describe this? I remember I was just going to JUCO, still trying to like, you know, take basic classes and learn. Mm-hmm. My buddy Adam Colson would always talk about like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and it was more so like the manga then, because we only had one thing to watch, and that was these OVAs that kind of made it of like the whole Stardust campaign. So I'm like, oh, cool, and I watch it. I'm like, this show is amazing. So they legally can't use their names because they're naming them after actual musicians. Like,
yeah,
yep, Vanilla Ice, totally a thing. Dio, totally a thing. JoJo, just face it, the list goes on. I'm like, this is the greatest thing ever. So I watched it, and they revamped it and started off from the very beginning onward. And I was in it. I was absolutely in it because like the whole stupid JoJo poses and the long fights and the absurd narration and it's like Dragon Ball on like crack. It's so fun. So those of you who may have not watched JoJo's, everything is constantly at a 12. So if somebody's taking a walk, it's the most epic walk of all time. Did you know that when he walks like this, he actually has been working on his steps for actually 38 years? He's only 16 years old. It's like the narrator do that, and it's so stupid and funny. The show is like, it's refreshing. It's so refreshing. So every character is so over the top. Mm-hmm. We're like the lead villain and like the first, technically, 3 arc, technically, is like this vampire David Bowie horrible person who's just born evil. And it only gets better when I got the part of Chocolata for multiple reasons. One, I booked that in the middle of COVID. So it was the most nerve-wracking thing. Yeah. Chocolata, in my opinion, which is horribly biased, is the most exciting bit of that entire Golden Wind arc. Mm-hmm. Because the dude's power, literally, because everyone has these stands, they have these little ghosts or reflection of their own subconscious that kind of really expound upon who they are. And Chocolata is, how do I describe this? Chocolata is kind of like a more tame version of the Joker, but twice as evil.
Oh, wow.
And he has this little sidekick named Seko, who some translate as their lover. I'm going to let you in right now. I read him as their lovers, so, get over it. So Seko is like, wears this gimp suit. and loves to be fed sugar cubes whenever he does something good. And both are extreme badasses. Seko can move through the ground like it's air and like swim through it. And if he catches you, he just beat the crap out of you. And Chocolata's is interesting because when it comes to him, he's a mad scientist. And he gets absolute pleasure in that way of watching people suffer. When he was 14, he was already a doctor. So he would like love to like give people just enough anesthesia where they'd wake up in the middle of the surgery just so he could torture them. He's the most evil dude to this day I've ever voiced. And that includes things coming out later on this year.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Oh, yeah. That's a little hint there.
Okay.
So, playing as him was so fun. For like Tony would have to pull me back a little bit. One, working with Tony Oliver was amazing because Tony Oliver, if he doesn't know, he's responsible for things like, the Power Rangers.
Yes.
Yeah. He's an amazing vocal coach, amazing actor. He's been Lupin. He was Rick Hunter in the works. I'm like, I'm just talking to Tony Oliver right now. This is amazing. Don't let him know how much you're fanning out right now. Everything's fine. Everything's fine, Bill. And it was fun because the character has all these absurd monologues. And this is not a spoiler because the episode just aired last week. My dude's power is if he stands above you, you can be infected by a mold that will literally digest you just by being there. And you will you'll die. Just that's what it is. He stands above you, you'll be hit with a mold, it'll spread to the next person, and you die. There's no getting around it. You'll just and you're dead. So I'm like, oh my God, this guy's amazing. So where it's at right now, after it's gonna be a little 2-week break because they're doing some DC animated Batman thing. My dude has wiped out Rome. And he's literally in a helicopter, and this right now the lead character's in this desperate fight to somehow get up to his level before he gets infected and take him out as he's in a helicopter. And it is the most epic, little 3-4 episode little arc I think is in the entire season because it's so absurd and the characters are so sick. The early villain's deal was just a dick. The Pillar Man just wanted to eat. And one dude was a serial killer, but he really kind of was like, well, I don't want to get caught.
Yeah, I don't want to get caught.
Chocolata was like, oh, I did it. I said it from my chest. I did it. I do it again. So, and he's just so creepy to the point where I'm looking at comments online and 99% love it. They're like, oh my God, I'm like, good, I did my job. I'm just like, your family doesn't love you at all. Oh, sicko. Make sure you're recording all the short looks on their faces. Nothing gives me more joy than to see them suffer and bleed. And so it's just this dude who's just so broken. The point where I remember reading one comment, actually had me cracking up. Someone said, he doesn't sound gay. Oh, how dare. Oh my, he always sounds like such a Chad. I'm like, your dude's just 6'4" and is clearly the dom in the relationship. So looking at him, I'm sorry. I also, have you ever met a homosexual person? They don't all sound like what you imagine.
No.
I'm just saying. I mean, I don't think you know what you're talking about. So I made it a point to go on Twitter, and I looked at because I'm like, hey, thank you, and I saw this person shit talk it. So I went and clicked his profile, and I saw other people just commenting like, oh, I liked it, so I would like theirs.
Oh my God, Bill.
I'm be petty as hell just because it's just that one person. It means oh my God, they know who I am. I am so sorry. I honestly don't care. Everyone's up to their own opinions. If you don't like my performance, cool. Get into voice acting and do it yourself.
Yeah, do a better job, please. Do a better job,
dude, I'm like, in 20 years when they redub this, and it could be you. So do it. I'm not mad at all. I had a great time. All I said, it was Chocolata was the best. He's the best.
See, I'm gonna actually have to watch that episode now because
Oh
my God, I need to feel uncomfortable. I want to watch it, and I'm looking strictly for the discomfort. This actually you might be what actually gets me to commit to JoJo's on a full-time basis because everyone and their mother and their father and everyone else in the family has been trying to get me to watch JoJo's all the way through, and I've seen a couple of episodes, but after that, I just kind of fell off. I don't know why. I regret it because apparently it's the greatest thing, but now I have a bigger motivation to watch it. So
watch it and then look for it. They let me sneak a little hood into him. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. I'm like, come on. I'm like, Tony, he's black. Come on.
Please.
Come on.
Just a little bit, please.
I think people were laughing a lot. I said, "Oh, my bad," and like it made it. It made it to the final cut. I'm like, yes.
You're just
They're like laughing. It's like they did not sneak my bad, and I'm like, "Oh, we did.
Oh, we did. We did. Oh my God. Okay.
Mm.
Oh my God. I'm so happy to be having this conversation with you. I'm sorry. This is like the highlight of my week thus far. That brings me actually to what has your experience been as a Black voice actor? I know when I was talking with John and, you know, the voice direction he was given for Barrett, some of it he said was very stereotypical, so he had to work around that as well. Would you say that that is something that you also have to deal with as a Black voice actor in general?
Y'all, I'm gonna be real with you right here.
Please do.
Yes. I'm gonna give props to Stephanie Shea for this. She knows.
Oh, I
the
would
story.
love to meet her. Oh my gosh, she's one of my idols. Like, hi, Stephanie.
Stephanie is amazing, and this is quoting her during the moment where like she was the first. It was like within the first 2 weeks moving out here, I was a shot to the moon to even read for Gundam and book Gundam. And I remember like this, we're doing the session, and my character looks like Black Dynamite. I'm straight up with you right now.
Yeah.
Sebastian Morris.
Yeah, I looked him up. Yeah.
I'm like, cool. So I'm just reading him like this here. He's a big soldier. He sits there. He talks trash. I edited myself pretty fast because he talks trash to a bunch of other people there about that. He has this cool fight scenes. He's a good guy, you know, whatever. And the client whispers in here, and Michelle, and Stephanie says, "Hey, do you think you could make him sound a little bit more urban?"
Urban?
And I look, I'm like, "You want him to sound Black?" Man that was born in space and the military. She was like,
I know.
"Don't worry about it. He's fine." So I'm like, one, Stephanie earned all the points there. She's like, this is like a low key, but of like, I'm gonna make almost like looking at the cards, like, I'm gonna make you feel ridiculous right now. Because one, like, there's like, of 100 characters are in an anime, 3 might be Black.
Mm-hmm.
This is what Black sounds like. I'm saying this right now. Like,
yeah,
I'll rap anything you want, but I was raised in Kansas, so this is the way I talk normally. And at home, might be a little different.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with you because there's a thing called code switching.
Yes,
I get more comfortable. That's a thing. But for all you directors out there, just so you know, myself and Jax over here, we can talk the neutral Midwestern dialect. So Wu-Tang. All right, so that's a truth right there. So it's tough because a lot of times casting directors will have it into their mind where I won't say PLC because that's kind of too broad. We'll say Black people.
Mm-hmm.
We speak like Chris Tucker or Bernie Mac all the time. That's all we can do.
Yeah.
So because they have that poison in their head, it's good to just sit there and talk to them. Sorry, I'll answer that later. Sorry. It's good to sit there and talk to them and say, "Hey, let me tell you something real quick." And I've actually had a lot of meetings with directors to stop this because entire anime seasons would go by, and I can tell you right now, not one Black dude or girl got to read for it. Yeah. People will say things like, "What about Cree Summer and Phil Lamar and da da da?" There's actually a 20% clause when it comes to how things are handled with SAG, where you have to have at least 20% of your cast has to be that of some form of ethnicity. So then they cannot discriminate on a union project when it comes to reads, especially when it comes to prelay. So there are protections there. Most anime is not union, so there are no protections. They're not. And so people like Phil and like Bo had like this big kind of upbringing when it comes to like on camera, built their following, whatnot, brought it over. I was like, oh man, this guy's in Star Trek. Oh my God, let's get him in one of these things here. Compared to, we'll say Jim Jones, the new Black kid who came onto the scene, he might speak more eloquently than I do and be classically trained. And they'll see his headshot like, you can read for Javon Jackson. He's in season 3. He has 5 lines. Oh, you can do a perfect teen protagonist voice? You can read for Javon Jackson. And it was this ignorant thing where we would have to kind of like beg to read for things. So people would ask like, Bill, oh man, are you in this anime? I'm like, nah. And for a long time, it'd be like low-key is like, I'd be like, I'm sure I'm with you. I didn't even get auditions for that. And I'm with that studio. The point where like, my first read at a particular big studio was actually for Resident Evil 3. Mm-hmm. We're a big old black dude in that. I didn't get it because I'm an honest man. Didn't have mocap training. I should have told him that. That was actually a good thing because then they kept me in mind for everything else and appreciated my honesty. So one thing was, anyone tells you fake it till you make it, don't do that. Let's be real and build relationships with every casting director you have out there, and they'll see you for who you are. Because the big thing is, are you talented, and do I want to work with you? Mm-hmm. Because some of these sessions are long, like everything from like Shenmue to One Punch to Gundam to a bunch of shows I can't talk about in video games. But some of your sessions are going to take like the day. Could take an hour, could take 6.
Oh my God.
And it's a lot on you. It's a lot. So if you're going to be stuck in a room with somebody, just don't be that asshole.
Just don't be that asshole. Okay.
So that's what things they're looking for.
Okay.
So it's like, all right. So they can get their loop count really good. Okay, cool. They're professional. And I just like being around them.
Yeah.
Bring her in. Bring him in. Cool. I like them. So that's a big thing there. So as time went on, especially during the whole Floyd thing, a lot of us would get together and we'd sit there and we'd just start talking about it. It's like, hey, we can be angry about this. We have the right to be, because it's stunting all of our careers, because some studios look at numbers or some look at what you've actually done. Mm-hmm. And you won't get the opportunities because you're a POC. Now, thankfully, a lot of studios are turning that around. Some because the internet tells them to. Others just plain really didn't know if it makes any sense. Mm-hmm. Didn't understand what I've been thinking and how I've been acting is really, really ugly. It is. Yeah. So as they would sit there and we talk about that, I'd be like, so here's something I told them. I'm also going to do it to my boy Zeno real quick. Zeno Robbins is amazing. And
yes, he is.
Two, I was talking to a particular studio. I say particular studio because I'm not going to outs any studio for past actions when they have a bright future. Mm-hmm. I don't want to be like, curse them to hit. No, yes, we can hate what they did, or I'd rather build up the potential future for them. Mm-hmm. And I was talking to them about just even financial numbers and things like that. I told them, I want you to take a look at something. Like what? It's like, for instance, you've been speaking to me for an hour now. Like, yes. Like, you hear how I speak, right? Like, yes. Like, so I could read for your protagonist. I could read for your villain. I could read for anything you want, and you have my demo. You know my range. I've taken classes here. And people like me aren't getting the fair chance to really shine through your company. An example would be, let's look at numbers. Mm-hmm. Okay, so you want to go to a con right now. You had years ago a black person read for a white character in one of your shows. Pretty popular, right? They said, actually, it kind of surprised him. Like, yes, because when you're labeled as the drug addict, the absentee father, the pimp, the whore, and so on, all of your life, or where people look at MTV Cribs like, that's going to be you, just doing drugs and doing raps in your basement, hide and shoot your shot, selling mixtapes. That is your options. That is it. But when we see things, like for me, it was Keith, and you see someone who looks like you voicing heroes or big characters or whatnot, you see yourself with them in the same way that we see ourselves getting our necks stepped on for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. We rather that. We hate that because we see ourselves in that situation because we've been there. Mm-hmm. Was George Floyd, this is all tied together, was George Floyd a saint? No. But he's one of so many who get put in that situation, and we're sick of it. Now, I brought that up because at the same time, we look at Zeno Robinson. Mm-hmm. That blew up because there are no POC actors in My Hero Academia, greatest show as it is, but now we have one voicing one of the greatest heroes of all time who's a white guy being voiced by a black dude.
Yeah.
And because of the way he's delivering it, you would never know he was black.
No, you wouldn't. I remember we posted something on Zeno and Voicing Hawks, and a lot of our comments were like, he's black. Like a lot of people were genuinely shocked.
Yeah. And we flooded that because now we're seeing ourselves as one of the greatest heroes of all time.
Yes.
It's like, realize how powerful that really is. And their minds were blown. After that, folks are getting opportunities. It's from one studio to the next, to the next, to the next. So I'm saying right now, people like yourself, others out there who want to get into voiceover, now is really the time. Because people are getting woke to this either willingly or unwillingly, being called out for it because of their horrible actions, or understanding their actions and making that step forward to really change and give people the opportunity that they truly deserve to really have their minds open up to the true talent that's out there. Like, for those in KC, there's a wonderful stage actor named Walter Coppage. I recommend actually people looking into as well. Another, if you want to get into theater, which I recommend for anyone, and realize these people are out there, but no one's talking about them. I think the same's going to happen over here in LA, in Atlanta, in Canada. For instance, one of the top billed actors in Canada is a guy named Devin Mack. You've seen him sell his post stuff online. He's black, by the way. And it's some good things. There's a lot of going around the corner. And I see the future is going to be really positive. It really is. It's my lips to God's ears. It's going to happen.
All right. Well, see, now that just brings up actually perfect segue. Tell us more about being a member of SAG and what led to the creation of CODA.
Oh, CODA. CODA is beautiful. The Coalition of Dubbing Actors. And CODA is something beautiful as well as SAG. I got into SAG because of Sprint commercials. But getting involved with CODA and SAG was because at the same time, I wanted that push for equality. And what CODA really does, how it kind of came together, is to kind of set things right when it comes to standards. Because the union's great, but the union doesn't have really a voice for voiceover, even union voiceover. So how CODA works is CODA actually gets out of its way to, one, make sure equal opportunity is a thing. Two, on top of that, they also make sure that contracts actually are being negotiated. An example would be a video game could make millions of dollars. The lead might have made a few thousand. Let that sink in. So it's like, are we really getting paid? What's worth out? Because there are things online, for instance, like Kyle Bear's real good dude, real good friend. I literally married him to his wife. He's the voice of Ryu. And I tell you, that man did not retire at all off of Ryu. That's for damn sure. So organizations like CODA are trying to like have these tough talks, but good talks when it comes to studios, producers, clients, with the concept of like Japan itself. Like, hey, can we renegotiate these contracts? Because some of the stuff hasn't changed since like the 90s, and inflation's a thing. And we need to make sure, one, residuals are a thing. Things go with union because there's little protections for it comes to like, your healthcare, because you're screaming a lot. And that could permanently damage someone's vocal box. So can we make sure that's protected? And a lot of times it's just more paperwork than actually comes to how much actually like really, really costing more. So it's little things like that where CODA really steps in to make sure that happens. For example, being even COVID right now. Studios being shut down because folks are stupid and they keep not wearing a mask. And I can say that right now. And if anyone says anything in the comments like, it's not real. Well, let's see here. I've lost loved ones to COVID. One of my best friends actually has COVID right now, and they're bedridden with this sickness all get out. It is a completely real thing. And I want you to imagine this. It's not a bad cold, because a bad flu doesn't mean your lungs get all fluid up and solidify and you die.
Thank you.
That's if that's just a bad cold to you, what type of bloodborne world do you live in?
Right.
Yeah. God damn. It's like, it's ridiculous. So we here we're trying to take it very seriously, and we understand that this has been a huge, when AMC is like, we might be bankrupt and local restaurants are like, struggling. That's real. You can look that up right now. We understand it's a struggle right now, but we're trying to do it right to the point where I recorded all of JoJo's in my home studio. Like literally every actor. You're watching anime right now, every single actor out of pocket got better mics, better booths, better interfaces, and the works, just to make sure they could keep working. And the point is, we all had to come together, studios and actors together, to make sure we can keep what we love happening. And it kicked the crap out of all of us financially. But where I would say right now is like, I probably spent more money upgrading my stuff than I made on JoJo.
Wow.
I regret none of it at all, honestly, because I got to be in a show I've loved since I was a kid. And at the same time, I like, it's not just me. A lot of us did it so we could keep the shows going. That's why some shows are delayed, whatnot, because it's like, granted, we recorded JoJo months ago, but it's also like not just me, it's the entire cast. It's what it could have been handled in like a day is going to probably take like a week, because you have to go through people's schedules, transfer things, and the editors. Oh my God, the engineers. You have to understand, they usually use like a U87 or TM103 microphone, which is they're expensive. These things can cost anywhere from like $2,000 to $3,000 on average, the type of mics that are being used for it. And when everyone's using the same mic, it's going to be a bit of an easier process for the engineer to like get that, then have the other guy mix it down so it's all this good, clear sound. Okay, cool. Not everyone can afford that, but they have good mics, and some have great mics. We have to make them all sound just as good. So a lot of engineers really went out their way for that. So it's another thing Code's trying to negotiate. It's like, okay, can we get these people just taken care of? Yeah, so it's a lot of things. So this is me giving 1,000% of an answer, saying Code is here just to make sure people are just not taken advantage of. Consider them like a union for the voiceover community. And a lot of folk in Coda are union and kind of pro-union because of such things, because you need to make sure folks aren't getting screwed. It's like, imagine doing your job, but then you have to do 6 other people's jobs during your job and then never getting a raise for years. So it's like, no, the companies are making more money, so you're doing the work. It should be an equivalent kind of exchange kind of thing. So it's things like that to make sure people are safe and taken care of. And that is your answer there. And SAG, in the meantime, make sure people get things like residuals. So if you did a commercial, great. If thing's still airing, you're getting a little bit. You did looping, cool. That thing's airing for like 5 years, you're getting a little bit here and there. So make sure you are set for that. Just a little thank you for what you did. So that's a little thing right there. And if you want to talk more about that, I will shoot you in all the right directions and emails to make sure you're taken care of. And getting to union, I say take your time at. This is not just you, to anyone out there listening. It's expensive to get into the union. It is, but when you do, there's a lot of big changes. The union, in terms of like even on camera, like was had like a bit part in Lethal Weapon, and you'd show up and just be like, "Here's a sandwich. Good luck." So, oh, you're union? Oh, would you like the steak?
Oh, wow. Okay.
I mean, okay, you'll be paid in 2 weeks, not 90 days. So yeah, so the union's guaranteed to pay within like 2 to 3 weeks. Being honest with you, you're gonna get your paycheck. Now, understand, living in LA where rent is like 10 times what it is in the Midwest. You want to get paid for what you did. So that's a lot of things that the union does on top of all of that in terms of keeping people taken care of, make sure they get their money on time, make sure they can be the bad guys. You don't have to be when you're like, I worked for you 3 months ago and you owe me a lot of money. So
We'll see. Okay, that answers my next question, actually. Should aspiring actors join SAG? And what are the benefits? What would you say to encourage more? Well, what would you say to encourage more Black and people of color to join? I feel like you covered that, but if you wanted to touch more upon that, or do you feel like?
I absolutely will. I'm gonna give you, for fellow POCs out there. So we'll call them black people. I mean, POC is just very rapidly. POC is also Black people, because we get it the hardest. One, yes, join the union. Absolutely. When you feel comfortable financially do it, it's going to cost around $3,000 to join after you earn your way into it. Some might Taft-Hartley you into it. Some might earn you enough credits to actually join the union. But there are a lot of protections in the union, especially when it comes to even reading for projects. So the big thing comes to POC actors. I say take theater. Take as many PO classes as you can. Theater, so you can learn to act. Because impersonations are fun and funny. But especially in LA, you can sound like Schwarzenegger? They can probably just call Schwarzenegger.
Schwarzenegger himself.
Yeah. Yes, it's like, I mean, it's the union. Probably we just bring him in. So, so first I've learned how to act. I say take Shakespeare because the first months of learning it, you're going to actually learn what the words really are.
Yeah.
If you can carry that over to your contemporary and actually, okay, what am I really saying when I'm doing these monologues or these lines? What are the points there? And that little dictameter right there. Okay, cool. And it goes full circle to you actually being a better actor altogether. So your lines will stick out that much more, where it won't feel like, yeah, they read this line to like, no, they spoke that line. Mm-hmm. When I'm like, okay, they're listening to an audition, it sounds like someone's having a conversation rather than just reading a line in a funny voice. Mm-hmm. And it feels alive like that. It's going to make you a lot more attractive as an actor to be in a project. So the read makes the gamer or viewer like feel like they're there. Mm-hmm. So do that. When I say take as many VO classes, I say do that because you're going to constantly challenge yourself and learn some things you didn't realize. I'm giving all this out right now because I want there to be more POC in the community. I really do. Yeah. So I'm going to give you some fun secrets. If they give you a character description, read that over like 5 times. Because there's going to be some things in it's called just basic script analysis. Okay, they wrote that there for a reason before the line. Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. So-and-so is a little shaky. They're not feeling well. Oh, okay. So you need to read that like I'm sick. Okay. They have big tusks. They're 500 pounds or not, and they're really gross.
Oh, well, I suppose he's a dwarf, so I got to talk like another bike because he's got these big tusks right here. And he's really gross. All right, so I can just make him gross.
Yeah, and they'll hear that like, good. They pay attention to detail. Good. So the directors will like, we'll hear that. And do things like that and actually like really think about the lines you're saying and make sure they sound like you're talking to somebody. You can even have somebody like, if you're both in the same project, of course, under NDAs, or if you're in a class, have someone read with you. Okay. And hear the difference between when you're reading it and when you're responding and giving that energy out and receiving that energy in a read. And you're going to see a huge difference when it comes to your performance. Okay. So do all that, then you'll be really good. Then go into the union. I say do that before the union because the unions, you'll be competing against the Steve Blooms, the Keith Silversteins, the Richard Epcars. You better believe they got that email too. They're going for it. So you gotta beat them. Like, I know I've lost to a couple legends before, down to like the last 2. It's just like, oh God. So, and other times I've won. And so it's been things like where it's not like an angry thing, it's fun. Because you're gonna do, especially like you move out to LA, you'll be doing maybe like 30-40 auditions a week. Steve Bloom once said that, wow, this is the best year of my life. I booked like 20% of my auditions this year. And that's like legendary. Like if I book one thing after like a week of auditions, I like rejoice because sometimes it stacks. They're like, oh, I got 4 sessions this week. Yeah. I'm whispering because my roommate's just recording an audiobook right now. But you get that and it gives you all the life on the planet. Mm-hmm. So like when you see people like so thankful for this role, they're 100% legit like thankful for that role. Yeah. Because it means you probably be one of 100 or so who read for it. Then you made the callback, and then you booked it. So that's the big thing right there. Mm-hmm. So get your mindset in a healthy way is like, my competition is going to be really fierce. Mm-hmm. Really, really fierce. But if I make this me, it's a big thing about acting. If I keep talking down on like impersonations, ironically, because I said it was a joke earlier and it happened for like a radio commercial. It never happened again. So the truth is, when people want to hear your voice and you'll think like the little things there, like even the little troll thing I did earlier,
it's like just doing this makes it sound like so, and I make them gutter by doing this here.
It's all it is. But a lot of times, 9 times out of 10, I'm doing a read that's just my voice. Mm-hmm. It's like, all right, cool. This is me. I'm in this situation. How would I be? Even Chocolata is, all right, Bill, you are a mad scientist and a homicidal killer. You love what you do. You hate the entire Bushiarati and JoJo, and you hate all of them. And you've actually gone so far as to even kill your own fellow teammates just because you didn't like them. These guys are in your way because you want to take over everything. That is you. You're horrible. You're an evil person. Now I say that in my head, I'm like, I'm a horrible person. I love everything I do. I hate all of them. So my reads are just my voice with that mentality behind them. And that's what makes it alive. So the same would go for you with the reads. Like, okay, you are, say you're Shira. Okay, you are of an ancient divine race. You can just say a word and suddenly you make He-Man look like a broke back bitch. You have a sword that can cut through dimensions. Oh my god, your best friend's a cat. A surprise, your lover. Spoilers. But it's like it's things like that. You're like, okay, this is who I am in the situation. Let's go. And that's what makes the character alive. So do all that, guys. Study that. Know yourself, and then you'll be fine. Join the union.
Okay, join the union. All right.
Union.
All right. Let's see. I said, what is it that motivates you as a Black actor, voiceover, and fitness inspiration? I think we covered that.
Yeah.
What changes would you like to see come to the voiceover industry, particularly in regards to how or what needs to change to make it more of an inclusive and welcoming experience for prospective Black and POC voice actors?
Okay. I would like casting directors to have a better understanding of when it comes to POCs and the reads. I would like to see more POCs get chances to read. I would love to see more POCs in anime. And when it comes to that right there, solely because it goes back to what I said earlier, when it comes to comparing things to George Floyd and Zeno Robinson, myself, to Inés Quiñones, and I could go on to Tiana Camacho, and all these wonderful actors you might have seen from like My Hero Academia to you name it. We POCs need to see that and also not be gatekept by ignorance.
Yeah.
So I want to see more POCs in these positions to really portray heroes and as epic characters in the business. I want to see that little huge step right there, because when we see ourselves like that, that changes the complete mindset of a generation. It really does. And that's going to be a huge step to not only taking down the racial prejudice thoughts, that changes everything in the future past that. We're like, oh, there were people who look back in like 10 years, like, oh, wow. You remember Zena Robinson? For me, been like, oh, man, you remember Phil Lamar as John Stewart? That guy was amazing.
Yeah.
Educated Black guy who has the ring and do whatever his willpower is. Military man. That's awesome. His name is John Stewart. My name is Bill Butts. This isn't like a street or urban name. It's just the name.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. So, and that things like that, like, inspired me. Imagine what's going to do to the next generation if there's like 20 really hardworking Black actors voicing these cartoons and anime characters who are inspiring the next generation. Instead of we can look at like Goku, which we all do, let's face it, to look at other things with more that aren't just like beat 'em ups to really inspirational kind of shonens out there. I want to see more of that. I want to see a whole generation of Black actors.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. All right. I love to hear it. I love to see it. All right. And let's see. Oh, actually, this is perfect. What are your future plans regarding your career as an actor, bodybuilder, and as a content creator overall? Like, what is the next step for Bill Butts?
Right now, the next big step for Bill Butts is I want to get into more anime because it's fun. Get more of the little prelay world, which has some announcements for that coming up. And I should start doing a little more Twitch. Twitch is fun because I love doing interviews and gaming and whatnot, and just sitting there and just talking to fans. Because let's face it, comments might be gone for a while.
Yeah.
Well, screw it. Come to the Twitch, hang out. You have questions? You want something signed? Cool. Just message. So I think it's something kind of fun with that to do a lot more of that, take those next steps, and then hit my goal of one day being an anime pro tag.
Yes.
Just wait.
You got this, Bill. Like, honestly, I'm not just saying that. You dead ass got this. All right. Let's see. That brings me to the second to last question.
Okay.
What words of inspiration do you have for our fans who look up to you for your work as an actor, fitness inspiration, and everything that they aspire to want? Everything, whatever you're doing, how can people get to where you are in all aspects of where you seem to be dominating? Not even seem, but are dominating.
I want everyone to look in the mirror. And first off, think about everything you love about yourself. Be happy with that and say, cool, let's make the next step. Let's get a little better. So you can love yourself, also pushing up to that next step. I do with the gym. I do the gym like, oh, that's really cool. I did like 30 pull-ups. Cool, I'll go for 40. All right, I'll go for 50. And I'll go for it and go for it. Same with like voice acting. Oh, cool. It only took me a few takes to kind of get a hold of the character. I'm gonna do it in 2. I'm gonna give them like the funnest B take they ever heard in their life. I'm gonna take this class here. I'm gonna learn something new. Okay, cool. You know what? I'm not going out there any drinks tonight. Why? I'm gonna save that money. I'm gonna take another class. I'm gonna take that class, get better. And guess what? I'm gonna impress that director. And they're gonna talk. Could be 6, could be a year from now. They're gonna bring me in. I'm gonna speak that into life right now. I tell everyone out here to live with that mindset of loving yourself with the constant pursuit of reaching those higher goals without being pompous. Just loving yourself, though. And that's what I say. Love yourself, keep getting better, guys. Be the next generation I really want to see.
Okay, that brings us to our last question. Where can people learn more about you, such as your website, your social media, your work? So where can people find your work, your website, and your social medias?
Right now, my work. Let's see. I can talk about right now. You can see me on JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. I'm also the villain of the season 2 One Punch Man of Bakuzan. You play Shenmue. You can actually hear me in the. I'm the new Tom, actually. The dude with Jamaican accent, and as well as a few of the villains in that game as well. We got a lot of stuff coming out here pretty soon. You can find me online on Facebook. Look up Bill Butts. That's me. You can find me at Billdozer77 when it comes to Instagram. Billdozer777. It's 3 right there for Twitter. Or if you want to just hop on my Twitch where I play games and introduce big interviews, you can find me under my name, which is Bill_Butts. I'm there. You can come through. We can hang out. Ask me any questions you want. Just have a good time.
Well, all right then, Bill. Thank you so much for joining us today, everyone. Like I said, I'll be dropping all of Bill's information once I edit this and everything, and you'll find out, I'll put his information there. But Bill, thank you so much, because this was a conversation I have been dying to have with you for a good minute. I'm just like, please, life, calm down. Please, just one interview with Bill. That's literally all I want to say. Please. So thank you so much for joining us. Like, I feel like this was definitely a very insightful and a very informative one. And I feel like, yes, it is important, especially for aspiring voice actors, to see themselves, to see you and know there is a Black face behind this character. So thank you so much for joining us. That is it for our show, everyone. Bill, thank you so much again for joining us. Thank you a million times. And that is it, everybody. Peace out. Bill, thank you a million times for this. This was amazing.
It's my pleasure. My absolute pleasure.